Alright, thank you, Gary. Good evening, everyone. This is the select board meeting for August 8th of 2022. I'll read tonight's agenda and it's like a small one. Under new business, we need to approve the July 25th meeting minutes and we need to sign warrants. And that's about all we got. Is there anything else we need to add? What we can review tonight, Andy?
It's not a social call, but I did want to stop and ask if the select board could give a little clarity to the American Recovery Act grant money that we understand may or may not be available for certain civic projects. The Historical Society will be meeting next week, and it would be helpful if I could add some clarity to what the parameters are for any grant money that may be filtering down out of the so-called COVID recovery grant money. I know Bob Norris said, I understand he had queried the board about that some weeks ago, but additional clarity may be necessary for our next board meeting. A parallel item is that the Historical Society has discovered that the septic tank, which we understood was a functioning system when the town bought the building in 2016, the tank is no longer functioning as a septic tank and needs to be replaced. I'm asking if the select board might consider the replacement of a septic tank as something worthy of perhaps some of that American Recovery Act money, and if that would be the case, what would be the timeline for making a proposal, and what would the shape of a proposal need to be in order to make that happen?
Okay. Yeah, we can discuss that. Anything else?
Update on the police contract. Spoke with city PD.
Could we also go into executive for personnel?
Yep. And we need to talk about the Sheldon Woods down there. The planning commission gave us a recommendation, but we haven't had a full board, so I told them we're gonna wait until we get that to discuss our thoughts on that and mill that over a little bit. We don't have to make a decision tonight, but we need to talk about it before we forget about it. Okay. All right, I guess we'll start right in with you. Kim, you probably know more about that money that we're receiving, right?
Right now, it's all going to the general fund, so it's up to the town how it wants to spend.
Okay. And there's some things that we can't do.
No, there's no limit.
They dropped all that and they said just spend it the way you please. It's gotta be line item so that they know you've.
Correct, we just need to know where we spent it.
Okay. Alright.
So
What is going on with the septic down there? The tank's bad, or is the leach fields failed, or what? Do you know exactly?
well, what we know is the tank is no longer functioning. It's collapsed. It turned out to have been a steel tank. Diameter no greater than 50 inches, so it probably was only a 300 gallon tank back when it was brand new, which I suppose, given the degraded condition, it was probably new in the 70s. And I can't tell if it was ever maintained, but it certainly is. There's nothing to maintain now. It needs to be replaced. There is a plastic inlet pipe that seems still to be dribbling into a tank that isn't there. The outlet is a plastic system, and that remains intact. The the entrance to the leach field, the discharge pipe from the septic tank is intact at the point at which the septic tank received it. So the expectation is that a new tank, I priced them out $1,800 would buy a new 1,000-gallon tank, which would cleanly put it within code requirements for a public building. Just a question of wondering if the town's water and sewer department would feel comfortable making the swap from the existing degraded, decayed septic tank to installing a new tank in its place. If it's done under contract with an outside jobber, that's a question of availability, and the timeline can be pretty squirrely right now. We'd be happy to look for somebody else to do the work, but if the town felt that it's within the scope of the water and sewer department, we'd certainly invite their attention to the project.
Yeah, I think that would probably be something we just hire some outside help to come in and do that for us. Because, our water and sewer department, that isn't really, they don't really do septic systems, they do, a whole system down Sheldon Springs for, septic and we're running on a 2-man crew over there anyway, so I think it'd probably be easier just to get a contractor. I think we could probably call somebody and get them down there and swap that out. I think.
So that $1,800 cost for the materials was an extraordinary expense that wasn't factored in the Historical Society's budget, which brings me to the other part of the question. If the grant money that Kim mentioned is available for distribution by the board, does it require a proposal to be submitted to the board, or can that be administered as an extraordinary expense?
Yeah, I don't know, what you guys' thoughts on it, but I mean, that's a town property down there, and if it needs a septic system, it's no different than if we need to put a septic system in here, we gotta keep our buildings up and running, and so, we'll get it done. Do it one way or another, and then whether we do use these funds or we have other projects that we were trying to mill around, we'll just put it down as a town expense or use that money or whatever, but if it needs to be done, we'll definitely get somebody down there and get that done for you guys.
Terrific. Do you require anything from the Historical Society's board as a formal request, or is my presentation such as it is?
When the question was brought up earlier, when you mentioned the Historical Society's inquiry into the CARES Act, the funds,
Yeah.
it was just open-ended, like, would any funds be available? And when I communicated back on that request, it was, well, how much? That's a pretty open-ended question. That could be $1,000, that could be $10,000. So that's why it was kind of left hanging, because it was waiting for this type of information, like how much money do you need to complete a project?
Terrific. I guess that begs another question. What's the scale of the kitty that we're drawing from for this? The Historical Society intends to, under the terms of the management agreement that the Historical Society and the town had entered into at the time of purchase, we're prepared to do any rehabilitation and typical maintenance that's required on the building, but there are a couple of big ticket items that are looming out there. Stairway to the second floor is a is one that will come back to haunt me at the meeting next week too, so, I don't know how many other big ticket items, are lodged against that kitty already, and whether there's a potential for perhaps another hit that might, support the reconstruction of the exterior stairs. That's
Yeah, I
a
think we
that's a
could
$15,000.
throw that project into the hat there, and, you know, we gotta toss around some different things that we'd like to see done in town here, and, you know, if that's something you're requesting that you'd like to see done, then I think we can put that down on our list, you know, and consider that.
Well, let me prepare that as more of a formal proposal for that,
Yeah.
that additional expense, but this septic issue is really kind of an emergent problem that should be addressed.
That needs to be taken care of right out.
Just as soon put that one behind us, so to speak.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll get after that.
and the question will no doubt come up at that same meeting next week. Will there be carryover money from this, or is it all to be spent in this calendar year? Or is that,
2024, I think it all has to be spent.
Yeah, it has to be spent by 2024.
well, it should last so long.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you. I'll, would you like to assign the designation of a contractor to do that work to somebody within the town office, or is that something that you'd like the society to identify?
We can contact a couple different people and see what their availability is. And we've got some people that we've used for other town work that we know and trust, that, you know, so
Great.
we can get a hold of them.
Well, you may have more success than we've had trying to find a plumber, so.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to make those calls,
Yeah,
that'd be
yeah, we can do that.
a great advantage, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be in touch, and if we can get somebody lined up and get that going.
Terrific. I'll keep tabs on Kim.
Yeah.
What's in the works, right? If
Sounds good.
you need me for anything else,
No.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, excuse me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to call Todd, see
That's not
what his availability is. He's booked.
Well, he's gonna have the knee surgery on Friday. So we'll have her around 6 weeks, 4 weeks. He would be out at least that time.
So Thursday sounds like a good day for him.
That's
I
good.
know he is digging tomorrow for us, so maybe he could do it.
You could ask him. Or Skip would sit in there and dig.
Yeah, good. I
If
don't know.
not, we can.
Yeah.
Must be somebody else we can call. It's got a small excavator that will do that. It's just set in a tank, and then we can send town boys over to help them put the pipes in and stuff if we need to, but I don't want them down there doing all that digging. They got enough other things to do.
That's great, we do it 10 times faster too. Than the backup.
So the planning commission met a while back on that woods down there. And their recommendation was they wanted to stay away from that, trust there, what was it?
The northeast.
The wilderness trust, they kinda wanted to stay away from that, they didn't like, they thought they were a little overburdened on the stipulations. I spoke to the guy from the land trust and, about about that, and he said they have helped some towns, with acquiring land to convert into a town forest, but he said if you've already owned the land, that they probably don't have much interest in throwing money at something we already own. And I said, that's fine, I was looking to see if they ever did any of that or whatever. So the planning commission's recommendations to us was they'd like to just see it left the way it is for now, but maybe write up some sort of easement on the property that says it can't be sold. I don't know if we have the authority to do that. We'll have to check with an attorney, but they'd like to see it, left, and maybe at some point when, a committee gets together and says, oh, we want to put a trail through there, they come and ask the town's permission to put a trail through there, and we do it or we don't, or whatever, but they'd rather not see it sold or harvested or conserved to a point that you couldn't do anything in there. So that's what their recommendation to us is. I don't know what you guys are thinking, the property, and my thought is we just leave it the way it is. I mean, we could check with an attorney and see if we could write up some sort of agreement that says that it can't be sold or can only be used for recreational purposes or whatever, whatever we think is the best use for it, or we could, I don't know, ask the voters what they think.
Was Nancy Patches, was she the one pushing for that?
Yes,
She was the one.
she'd like to see it conserved and, cause it's the old growth.
Yeah.
And I can see your point, don't cut those trees and stuff, but that conservation group is like no wheels in there,
Yeah, you couldn't touch anything if it.
You got a down
dropped
tree,
right
you cut out as white as the path is, and they wanna leave it. They want people to go in there and look at it, but they don't want, bicycles or strollers. That was the big kick for the planning commission was, no strollers or bicycles. And so, and I don't think, because we already, like when I was talking to the guy from the land trust, he says, you guys already own the land, so what are you gaining by putting those restrictions on it? Well, I guess you're gaining, you don't have to worry about it. After this board's gone, you don't have to worry about somebody going in there, the next board comes in and says, oh, we wanna, put a road down through there, volleyball court, and, whatever, that problem. But it's not like, if we needed land, like say there was 100 acres of woods right next to the school and it was for sale, well then, the land trust would come in and say, hey, we can help you guys if you want to conserve this land and use it for the school, for the kids or whatever, then we can help you make this purchase work or you can afford it. But we've owned that land for how many years? So why not just leave it the way it is, I guess.
I think that my main concern, and what I've heard from some other people, is that a new board can't come in and then decide to sell it. So that when we talk about writing something up with an attorney, it would have to be that if that land were to be sold, it goes to a vote at town meeting, so the entire town gets to weigh in, and then 5 new people can't come in and 3 say we're selling it.
Yeah.
Did anybody else get the email from Nancy Patch wanting to do like a,
Presentation.
yeah,
That's also, I'm sorry.
and a date other people, so I wasn't sure who got it.
I feel like the town would like an update at town meeting day on this, because it has come up in the past, to say what's the status of, so. You know,
Yeah.
we could do nothing and then let her give a presentation at town meeting day, and then, you know, like you said, we don't have to do anything with it right now. It's sitting there, it's untouched.
Yeah.
So we could just ask for her to provide the town the update, or, and hope that we, you know, because like I said, my opinion is that we work with the attorney to draft up something that, if it's sold, it's a town vote. Would be mine,
Before it was sold.
correct?
Even just to protect the trees too, if somebody went and illegally cut.
Yeah, I'm sure you could get some sort of, something written up on that, for that property that, I mean, anything that happens on that property needs to come up for a town vote or whatever, you know, any major change or anything like that, I guess. You know, it is the town's property, it's not, you know, 2 people on the select board's decision or 3 people, I mean, it'd be 3 people's to make a majority, you know, it's the town's property, so. Yeah, we could, look into that, I guess, and then get some wording on it, and then have the voters decide. Maybe we get that worded up before town meeting, or, and, we can look at it and see what we think of it, and then if we think it's a good proposal, we could, bring it up to the voters and have a little presentation and say this is what we would like to do, you know, as a, see if they approve it, or if they got other issues they'd like to see, or other things they'd like to see, and we can go back to the drawing board, I guess. Cause really, we're not under the gun, we're not in a hurry, it's not like if we don't do something the next 60 days, somebody's gonna, you know, snatch it up and do something different. But, like you said, if, you know, voters don't, you know, have said, they voiced that they didn't want it, see it sold, they wanted, that we probably should get something in writing if it makes sense. So you'll check with the attorney on if there's some sort of, binder or easement or something that the town can put on that property. Alright. I guess we can get this stuff out of the way. Give everybody, that's what we got. I'll read the minutes from the previous meeting. Select Board Water Commissioner meeting minutes from July 25th of 2022. Held here at the town office at 7:30. Present was Stephen Dodd, David Pluvitt, Joe Dunleavy, Nick Norris, Seth Hungerford, Kim Dufresne, Randy Reed, Amy Brosen, Tom and Pam Callan, and Lori Oliver. 7:30, I opened the meeting and read the agenda. Addition made to go into executive session to discuss highway department. Randy Reed voiced concerns on the Riley Road. Vehicles are going around the mud on his property and damaging his trees and pipeline. They're also throwing trash on the side of the road. Amy Wilson was concerned about the excessive speed on that front end of that road. They asked the board to change the class of the road or throw it up altogether, and we're gonna investigate what can be done. Tom and Pam Callan asked if it was possible to hook up to the town sewer line on Shawville Road. And the board will discuss with Hubert. Lori Oliver asked about the sheriff contract for July 1st, 2021 through June 30th of 2022. Asked how many hours the town was supposed to receive weekly and how many they did receive. And per per a letter received from the sheriff's department. They were unable to honor their contract due to staffing shortage, and they will not be billing the town. Her concern was how the town was going to move forward. The board is looking for affordable coverage for the town. Now, we signed warrants 2228 and 2229. Joe made a motion to accept the 2022 tax rate, seconded by Seth, and all in favor. He set the municipal rate at 0.5092, and then there's a local agreement on there of 0.0016. And I read the meeting minutes from July 11th meeting. David motion to accept was read, and seconded by Joe, and all in favor. Joe motion to accept the engineering proposal from East Engineering to replace the culvert on the Hills Road, seconded by Seth, and all in favor. 8:45, Nick motion to go into executive session, seconded by Joe, and all in favor, to discuss maintenance on the highway. At 9:25, we exited executive session, and Nick made a motion to adjourn, seconded by David. Meeting adjourned at 9:25. I think a motion to accept these minutes is
I'll
ready.
make a motion.
Alright, second on that.
Yep, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Got a letter here from Manchester, Vermont. And he was up here in 2017, and he checked out the Poor Farm Cemetery, and it was in pretty rough shape back then. That was before we had anybody come fix it and work on it. And now he was back up here the other day, and he was impressed with how the had been mowed and the debris had been cleaned up. But he said there's some broken stones up there and some that are sinking in. He belongs to Vermont Old Cemetery Association, and they're doing a project right now in another town. And he wondered if perhaps they could get involved and help fix up that Poor Farm Cemetery at some point. Anybody have objections to me getting a hold of them?
Is it through like a grant or is it like a match, or they do it all on their own, or
I
do
don't
you
know.
don't know?
He doesn't, he just says he belongs to that association. I was
That's
just
something on the news.
I was just gonna reach out to that association and see what they do with projects and stuff. Does anybody have
No,
any
I don't have any
objections?
No.
I'm not saying I'm gonna tell them to do the work.
Yeah.
I was just gonna.
Yeah. I wonder if that's the
Curious
same one that was
about-
on the news
I'll
probably
second
like
that.
2 weeks ago.
I see
Yeah,
that.
I did Laurel Berlin Cemetery in Cuttingsville.
That's what it was. I just remember them saying that there's a big group of them that go and do this at different older cemeteries.
Yeah. Anyways, I was just gonna reach out to the
Yep.
association to see what they do
Mm-hmm.
and what they required and if they had any interest in it.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't hurt to, that doesn't get the attention that old cemetery. According to his records, there's supposed to be 327
Plots.
plots up there. He counted 226 gravestones. But, some of those people that came out of the poor farm there, they just buried them there. They didn't put, they didn't have markers and stuff. But I thought that was kind of interesting. I might just reach out to them and see what kind of projects they do and stuff. If nobody has objection to that.
Nope.
This is the project. Remember when I said we had talked with Homer about running, he wanted a sewer hookup for his
Mhm.
project over there? Well, this is some of the work that, we were having, what year was this? So it's, what's the date? Oh.
This is 2009.
Yeah, but this shows that, you know, Hubert's mentioned replacing this line off Mill Street too at some point, cause there's some bad spots there. Right by Cox Garage and before the post office, there's a spot there that has trouble. Anyways, this gives us a look at what's there. I mean, it doesn't show the line that crosses over against Courthouse, but, so Tom and Pam's house is right here.
Yep. So that must be right away.
This is a line. They did a couple different proposals with the slope. There was the one hooking onto it right here in the middle of Mill Street, Shawville Road, and coming right up through the road, and then crossing under 105 there, coming up on there. This other one was coming up through here, just out behind the church, and remember if there was a problem with the railing on that, or there's that old road there that's right here. But anyways, and then it comes up to the edge of 105 and then shoots over and across the same place. I haven't talked to Hubert, but I didn't know if, you know, it's possible to do this as a partial project maybe and get those users, or because there's nothing going on over here, so I don't think we need to finish that over there.
And nothing saying
I
that.
don't know if it's feasible to, you know, if Hubert would think it's feasible to run a line up through to here to gain those, because Tom said they would put their other house on too, I guess. Said they didn't need to or again, but they would. Or if you'd rather see the money spent over here and where.
They got the main home line is place, or
What's that?
is it gonna go up to the main home line place, or they can tie the main home by the church?
Well, it'd have to be, you'd have to run a line up by his house, or down below his house or somewhere. Yeah. That's on
We're on page 6. Got 5 and 5. So maybe this is.
yeah, see, there's the church.
Okay, so this is.
I think
Is it-
Hubert said for the money spent, it'd probably be best to have the manhole come, I think near 105, so that if they develop on where Debbie will for her development, and then if it did have to, if something happened on the other side, you could hook in and not be,
Yeah, did he think you could hook up Tom's from there? Or is there, or we have to pump it
I
up?
don't think you're going to do that downhill side.
no, you would go down Shawville Road, I think that's the way the plan is, and then it would go into,
So he would come back
No,
up
it's
to
not
the
you.
part of that. Oh,
but we'd have to, there's also the right of way, because we would be under the rail trail. And he said he didn't see a way not to go under it, to connect, if we ever want to connect.
Yeah, there's no way around that, even if you went this back way, you come over along 105 and stood it or whatever.
But he said to get the most is if they did a development there, and then if the line was big enough, it would feed the other side.
They still talking about doing something at Debbie's property or?
He didn't think they were gonna do anything, but he said also Bergerons have that meadow there that could be developed next to the rail trail too, so
Yeah,
there's 2 sides over there that could be developed.
okay. Yeah. Okay, talk to him. Cause he'd like to use some of that money for a sewer project too, right? I guess we need to figure out what we have for
Project
projects.
down by the middle, or
There'd be
down
a lot of water pipes too down in the springs that could be changed now.
Mhm.
Cause I think, has Hubert mentioned anything about,
I think it's all the old,
right,
and there's no new pipes in Sheldon Springs except for
No.
when we brought the
They
new
just-
line down, we connected
They
to
got
them.
out, they dug new ones, what, to like the Ampere building. Then they just hooked onto the old system right there, cause they used to shoot across to that well up there.
and if we
They,
treatment plant
remember they
line,
were hooking on. Yeah.
so.
So I guess if you got a new line up to that street, you pull the water line at the same time.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be an inventory coming out where the state kind of wants to know where that whole galvanized pipe or what kind of is.
Yeah. You could build it. Is there any other things you guys know of in town for projects that we need to put on that list?
The only spot ever seems like it gives us the most trouble is right here.
Yeah. But, you know, that, all that money that we're getting, we're gonna increase that
No,
on
no,
sewer system too, but that's why I'm saying, is there other projects that we can throw in that there? And see where we're gonna spend money?
On the rec side, would there be any funding for some kind of a shelter kind of across from the historical society? Either gazebo or some kind of a little lean-to, just a lot of families kind of gather right there on their bikes and stuff. Just a place to get out of the weather if need be,
Yeah.
something.
That would be something.
I know when the rail trail talk, they really they like trailhead, so maybe that could be part of the trailhead. You know, have something like that there too at the same time, so you can have parking, seating.
Are they gonna put parking down there at the, or is that?
I know Jack's talked to them about it, putting parking down there. But I'm not sure what they're gonna do.
Cause their right of way must be pretty wide right there by the road.
Doesn't today?
Yeah, that could be something we
And I know the other thing that we talked about, like when I first got on board, there was discussion about changing the Poor Farm Road and how it goes by the school and that whole
can, yeah.
area. You know, I don't know if that's something we want. I don't know how much, where we want to draw the line, but that's something that I know.
Well, that's something to put in there for discussion.
You know, you're crossing, you're going, your street, you're just.
The only thing with that, it's gonna be tougher to do now that,
Yeah.
the school's not just.
They, I think, would be willing.
Yeah, I'm sure they would.
But I'm just saying that maybe, you know, not just this, but throw that into the ring too and let it battle out.
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah,
whatever we discussed.
Lately, but, you know, it is something that should be on the radar. Section, right? Get that up there, and
Cause this is only showing going to the building formerly known as the post office. And so that lines are showing us there and stuff.
I think that I remember when you were talking about it, we were talking about getting over to there. He said, well, let's have, have some sort of, this whole area there, cause at some point he thought that was gonna have to be changed out. And we would probably have to have it re-engineered before we actually did the project anyway, but this will give us an idea of it.
Alright.
What else we discussed, what we want to recommend?
An update on the police.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I spoke with Maurice Lamoff of Sonoma City PD, and he basically said that they don't have the staffing or availability to take on any extras right now. They said that Highgate had approached them to up their hours from 24 to 40 or just increase them in general. And that Franklin had approached them as well, and they just can't get any good candidates at the moment to fill some spots. He said the BSP is in the same scenario, so our options are pretty non-existent unless we were to reach out to Swan Village. I know that they just passed, or their ATVs just went into effect on their town roads, so I don't know if that's something that they would be interested in since, Swan can't commission on them, or if they have the capability to take it on, because right now a lot of people are hurting for staffing and law enforcement.
So, it sounds like even if we were to, say, work with Franklin or another town, and say create a full-time position, it doesn't matter because you don't have anybody to do that.
That's the
right?
problem, yeah.
Just clarifying.
Anybody want to be trained to be constable?
I think that Seth can be sworn in. This Seth.
Also, no ones in the Norris family.
That
pretty
official
strong.
Try to make that one.
Legit.
Make it official.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Is there an age limit on constable? Your boys need something to do.
Constable 1, 2.
Yeah, that's kind of a dilemma.
Like I said, I said if it is a matter of, the town were to, increase the funding that we're making available to a full-time, is that make any difference? And he just said no. They just
That's
don't.
what I was just clarifying for the audience.
But they will let us know if anything changes.
What if we just park, if we have any extra cruises, we can just park a few of them.
Can Josh get OT from him?
Do what?
So Josh could be constable, right?
Yeah, he would swear that one. I know that. I'll talk to him about it.
That's all I had. Do you need a motion for going to executive session?
Yeah, I just had one question, do we need any more follow-up for the Ryder Road, or?
Yeah, I don't know what you guys thoughts on that.
So, I think, on the Ryder Road,
Oh, right.
so one of the big things that was bothering them was the GPS. And if it's a town trail, it's easier to be removed from a GPS. But as a class 4 road, it's a bigger deal, so I think one of the biggest concerns was the GPS portion, but I don't know that removing it from GPS is gonna do a ton of good, but maybe some.
I don't think it does because of the bedding mattresses. Cause I talked about it, the bed's only, and he asked, well, is it maybe sugar house on 911? Yes, it is. And that's right almost to our border.
Right.
Of Sheldon's.
Right.
So it stays on GPS because of that 911. Cause that's what they follow. I
So
think
being
anyways.
a class 4 road, do we need to fix that road so it's passable? One season out of the year, isn't that the definition of a class 4 road?
Correct.
So do we need to go up there and make that passable? And I think Randy's thought was if that's why he was trying to bring some stone up to that hole. He said if that was more passable, then maybe they would stay on the trail and off my property and out of my pipeline. And, you know, for the most part, he said there's still gonna be those ones that wander up into a sugar woods. But I mean, you can't put a chain link fence up on both sides of that because he wants to use that too, you know, and he's kinda like, you know, you talk to him and, well, I don't really wanna shut that down, but if we could get people to behave and go through there, then he said I wouldn't mind it so much. And, you know, I mean, you don't shut down Bouchard Road because people dump trash down there in the corner.
Well,
And it is a road, and it's a class 4 road. I was thinking it was a trail. I'm thinking, well, if it's just a trail, why do we bother with it? But I mean, if it is a class 4 road, then it should stay on the book for the class 4 road, I think.
the part that's class 4 road is in good shape, the part that's unpassable or not coded as class 4 is the part that he's having a problem with.
But if you look at the mileage, it is class 4. It just designated unpassable, but it's still a class 4 road.
Is it unpassable or untraveled?
Impassable or untraveled, both. You know, I agree with the impassable part. I mean, you put a lot of work into it up there.
I mean, I think if it's class 4, then we should, I don't want to say bring it up to standards isn't the right word, but make it so it's passable.
Make it so it's possible.
Because I think that will
Will
help.
it work? Have you been up there lately, Nick? Me either. Is it worth going up and looking at it and see what it would take to make it more passable?
In that wet spot, is it just like a culvert?
Yeah, I mean, is it?
It's gonna need probably,
Fill up with water because there's no place for the water to go, or is it?
Did you guys go to the spot?
we didn't like drive all the way down, we went to basically where it was on.
The sugar house.
I parked my truck at Sugar House, we walked up a ways. But like I said, we didn't have a ton of time, but we went and looked at it, I mean, a lot of work put into it, it's pretty wet in there. I mean, my opinion is they wanna have the town give up the road. It's not a bad option for the town. The only thing is, I don't know how it works with Fairfield, so that's the other part of things. I read through all this stuff from the town, they said the town, this is all assuming this is a trail, so this has nothing, it's not the same, which we can go back to these people and say this is, but they said, much different if it's a trail. It's class 4, it seemed much more different, and
See, in the beginning, when he came to speak to me, I was under the assumption it was a trail.
Right.
So then I asked him to check on it, and that's where we got that stuff.
so,
I didn't look deep enough there.
so we can certainly check that out, I don't know what the difference is, there's probably a significant difference, but being that it's shared between two towns,
I think our most problem is that there's those houses on it. So you're either gonna have to make it keep it a class 4 to a certain amount, a certain spot, because of they have to have a right of way to their house, you can't take it away.
So that's my question, is the class 4 portion that we maintain to make passable, is that just up until the E911 at a sugar house? Because it looks like most of the work is beyond that, and that maybe where some.
Yeah, but all that work is done on that road, it wasn't counted to do that.
Right, he did that, I'm saying, but we would maintain it to the problem area, and then his problems are always go away with us maintaining it up until, right? His problem area looked like it was at the sugar house and beyond.
Yeah.
I think the wet spot's not in Sheldon, I think that's in Fairfield.
Oh, you. I guess we just go up and figure out where the town line is.
Cause isn't the wet spot
and then
pretty much where you come onto the trail, it's not far down, and then you come into that wet
So it must
spot.
be that other property that Randy bought up there is in Fairfield.
Yes,
That is.
There's a few wet spots when we were there and it hadn't been very wet, so I don't know what the
no,
wet
there's
spot.
there's a big deep hole,
We didn't get that far, I guess, unless he did.
that's where they run off the trail, is that one spot.
Yeah. That big hole.
How far down past the sugar house is that?
Oh, it's in Fairfield, it's not
Okay.
in Sheldon. I'm pretty sure if that's in Fairfield, because it seems like just when you come onto the trail, you hit those 2 spots. I haven't been on it this year, I think we'll try it.
You're gonna get some homework. Seth, did you have a chance to talk to anybody in Fairfield about it?
I reached out, I have not heard back.
Well, have we heard
I'm
anything
checking on
else
it.
since the last meeting? No. Yeah, heard anything.
But I really don't know on the town line, but it looks like the town line is just a little ways after the sugar house.
Yeah.
I think the 911 probably better. Is that the 911?
Yeah.
Yes. It's actually the houses.
Yeah, I mean, it can't be US cottage, doesn't have a sugar house, but it's right about here.
It's in Fairfield.
It won't seem like it wasn't, I still see that. It did have to be E911, so. Once it
It's
goes
still a class 4 road.
all the way through the woods.
Yeah.
Information all the Fairfield line,
Class 4.
So I'm saying, if we would cut it off, it wouldn't have to be all or nothing, right? It would just be at.
It would have to be agreed with Fairfield. You can't change your classification
No.
between 2 towns.
It's just passable to, it's now
It's not,
getting ready for blacktop, but
Right.
Just has to be passive.
Right. That's
Once
what
a year, so
Yeah,
back in the summer, when it's just dry.
That's what's the
I mean, could be
definition
passable,
of passable by what?
in the middle of July, as long as it's passable.
What type of vehicle?
Horse.
Right now, I'll tell you that.
Because we don't.
Wouldn't take my horse
We
down.
don't do.
They do
I
that.
think class.
No, I
just have somebody complain.
That's a great spot for her.
Some horse and bring a load of gravel.
Or don't do too much damage here.
And that's been 3 or 4 years since we've done that, I think, he's kept it up.
I just
The only other spot
think
is down on frontage and Twin Ledge, that's the other spot. No, it's-
And then up there at Churchill's.
Yeah.
But they've been maintaining that for years.
But there is no, like, this is from my own knowledge, there's no broader definition of what constitutes passable, it has to be passable by a vehicle and. Okay.
Passable.
Or the foot messenger.
Yeah. I recognize that.
It's a great standards.
These are tertiary needs of orientation.
Alright, we'll do a little more research on that, I guess. And I don't think we can change the classification of the road without a loop law, because there is already houses up there on that road and third house, so. And it goes into a different town, so But we'll see what we can do to make it more user friendly for people that use it, I guess. Alright,
Then I will make a motion to go into executive session and, adjourn the meeting.
alright, do I have a second to that?
I'll second it.
Alright, we will go into executive and then after we come out of executive, we'll adjourn for the